Ladies and gentlemen, please fasten your seatbelts. Morena tatou. Thank you everyone for being here. Nā mai haere mai e mihi ana kia koto katoa. Ko len solto ko ingoa. I'm going to invite Councillor Connell, please, to do a karakia for us. Would you mind standing for us? Thank you.
Tu taua mai I runga, tu taua mai I raro, tu taua mai I roto, tu taua mai I waho. Kia tau ai te mauri tū. Te mauri ora ki te katoa, haumie, huie, tai kie. But wait, come forth from above, come forth from below, come forth within, come forth from the environment. Vitality and well-being for all strengthened in unity. E noho.
Kia ora. Thank you, Councillor Connell. Because today is a continuation of an official council meeting that we've started for the purpose of the hearing submissions on the long-term plan, we don't need to go through the official parts, except that I will get an update on apologies. So are there any apologies that we need to be aware of today? We have Councillor Walker, I think, in transit.
Yeah, through the chair, Councillor Walker's in transit and Councillor Gottlieb will join us in about 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to suggest that we don't need to put Councillor Gottlieb in as an apology, except to note the time that he joins us, and potentially should we put Councillor Walker in as an apology with the ability to change that if he does join us later on? He's in transit back from Perth. So let's do that. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please, for the apologies? Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. We've called for conflicts of interest yesterday. There were none. Unless there's any changes, we'll move on from that. I'm going to just address with those of us, and thank you all for being here to speak to your submissions in person, and those of you who are online. The submissions that you make are very important and we value them very much. I'm going to address the process because we allow 5 minutes for a hearing of your spoken submission or speaking to your submission. At the end of 4 minutes, you'll hear the seatbelt sign, which means that you have 1 minute to go. At the end of your 5-minute presentation, and we will stick to time because we've got a lot of people to hear, at the end of your 5 minutes, I'll open it for questions from councillors to the submitters. The questions will be for information and clarification. I reserve the right as chair to limit the number of questions that are asked and the time taken to answer those questions. And I'll make you aware of that now because if we do start to get tight on time, it's fair and respectful to everybody and all the other submitters. The schedule or the run sheet that we've got allows half-hour blocks for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, either 5 or 6 speakers. The problem with that is that it limits the time in that block for the question process. So we need to give ourselves the flexibility to run over time, and the reality is we will run over time. So the schedule that we've got is a guide, and chances are that once we get into questions, we will run over time. We'll try as much as we can to stick to that, but expect some flexibility in that. So thank you very much. Without further ado, we'll move straight to the first submitter, which is Mike Morrison, to speak on behalf of Peter McAuliffe. Thanks, Mike. Please do. Now, Mike, if you wouldn't mind pushing the right-hand button you'll see a red light come on. Once that's on, you're good to go, and it means that the people online can hear you as well as the people in the room. So thank you. And the floor's yours. Where you go.
Okay, good morning, and good morning, everyone. Great to see you, Peter. You've been great, giving us great support. And in the audience, yeah, I've got a few Moana Tairi residents, so I've come here to just reiterate our submission for Moana Tairi, the upgrade of the sea wall that's in the long-term plan. So, yeah, so Peter McAuliffe, he wrote the submission on behalf of the residents in our suburb. He's unable to be here, so he sends his apology. So I've got two submissions that I was just going to briefly talk about. One is my own. Basically, we have been living in Moana Tairi for the last 8 years. We've owned the property for about 10. And I'll just say it's quite an amazing place to live. And of course, the seawall is an integral part of the whole suburb. And with the discussions that have gone on in the last 15 months with council, been very proactive, and the whole community has been right in behind our talks with council. And so I guess it was all started with a shoreline management project that the council kicked off. And of course, the repercussions of that, of course, were a bit of the bad press that came out saying there's a possibility that a managed withdrawal of the suburb is an option. That certainly got everyone in the suburb fired up. So the thought that we can actually upgrade the wall and live there peacefully forever after is really what the community wants. So we are totally in behind the council's proposal. And when you see the use that the wall gets every day, it's just phenomenal, really. It's part of the Thames cycleway, walkway. It just adds so much value to the town. So what I think we would like with an upgrade is a better walkway. So, and when I see what the roading authorities done up the Thames coast, piling rocks, building out the road, etc., we can't see why the wall can't be made bigger and wider and taller. So that's really where we're coming from. So that's pretty well the end of my little talk. So how's that?
Thanks, Mike. That's much appreciated. Councillors, any questions of Mike at this stage? I think you've covered it very well. So no questions from councillors. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. No,
appreciate it.
That's all good.
Mike, have you got two that you wanted to cover, or have you covered everything off now in that presentation that you've just done?
Oh yeah, so basically Peter McAuliffe is the secretary of the Moana Tairi Residents Committee, and he actually wrote the submission on behalf of the residents. So everything in the submission, the written submission, is what the community wants, and the support for sort of option 2 for the upgrade of the wall. And one thing we did ask for was that the whole project could come forward, because we feel so many communities around New Zealand will be wanting an upgrade for their predicted sea rise in their particular area. So the earlier we get in and ask for money, and we do see central government as a possible source that the council could go down to source funding for seawall upgrade. And of course, when you look back at 2018, when we had the big tidal surge up the Firth, and where the wall was actually where water did come over the wall, but down by the Grahamstown miniature railway, of course, it just poured over like a river. So there's a real need for the whole town seawall to be upgraded, but we see let's get on and get the Maianatari wall done first and then into Thames for the rest of it. So, and when you look at what the waterways have done, you know, in Whitianga and Pauanui with the Tongan rock builders, they've done an incredible job and I guess at low cost compared to New Zealand workers. So there are all sorts of avenues for doing a lower cost option than what probably Tonkin and Taylor have sort of estimated. So,
Mike, I have one question, and thank you for raising that. You've clearly set out in your submission the desire to bring that forward, but you've also mentioned about walkways. Is that something that you would see being part of the rest of the SMP work that council has proposed, that if that work's going to be done to incorporate walking amenities and facilities as part of that project as well? Can you see the benefit in that for not just Maianatari, but for the rest of Thames?
I see that as an amazing tourism thing for Thames. And when you go to all these other towns connected to cycleways and walkways, they're absolutely so well used, and it enhances the town. Yep. Well worth doing. Yep.
Fabulous. Thank you. No other questions from councillors? Thank you. Awesome. Okay. Is Murray online? Murray, are you with us? Murray Ward? Just unmute Murray if you don't mind, please. Murray, we're seeing you. Your lights, that's better. We can hear you now.
Right, thank you.
All right, there you go.
Right. Thank you, Your Worship and councillors, for this opportunity to talk to you. In addressing you today, I was tempted to repeat my submission to the council's LTP hearings in 2021, word for word. The principal concerns of the community at Wharekaho remain wastewater, water, stormwater and footpaths. The position in regard to those issues is exactly the same now as it was 3 years ago. Our council will have received numerous submissions exhorting it to adopt a long-term plan which focuses on essential services only and to abandon the nice-to-haves. My association wholeheartedly supports those submissions. We do not see council as a social services agency. That is a business of central government. I put it to council that providing wastewater, drinking water and stormwater services along with safe footpaths is core business for any local authority in New Zealand. Council itself has acknowledged that in the past. The community at Wharekaho therefore asks that those issues be addressed in the new LTP. I want to remind you of something the council said in the long-term plan 2018-2028. It said, the rise in national standards around drinking water supplies and wastewater disposal continues to be a focus, and we think it's probably only a matter of time before councils will be required to take responsibility for the drinking water and wastewater disposal of all settlements in their district. We also know that community water supplies are coming under pressure, and that individual property wastewater systems have a detrimental effect on waterways. From many angles, this looks like future costs for our council to pick up. We need to get ahead of this likelihood and plan for what infrastructure may be required to transition many of our communities onto a more reliable source of drinking water and a more environmentally responsible form of wastewater treatment and disposal. Were those simply weasel words, or did council genuinely intend to get ahead of the 8 ball? If it did, it has made remarkably little progress at Wharekaho in the ensuing 6 years. Council did commission a preliminary investigation into the viability of providing wastewater and water supply services to Wharekaho. The investigation determined that it is viable to do so. It's entirely regrettable that nothing has since happened. It is of some comfort to note that there is provision in the draft LTP for capital expenditure on wastewater and water services to Wharekaho. However, the draft document has taken the opportunity to defer wastewater services by 1 year and water services by 3 years over the dates proposed in the current LTP. This means that these projects must survive another review of the LTP in 3 years' time. That these changes have been proposed without any prior consultation or explanation is really quite unacceptable. In round figures, council is budgeting 3.1 million for wastewater services to Wharekaho and the same for water services. These are paltry sums in comparison with the 78 million allocated for Thames coastal protection, almost 40 million for an aquatic facility at Thames, 19 million for Thames South water improvements, 11 million for Thames Albert Street stormwater improvements, and almost 9 million to refurbish council's Thames headquarters. When those numbers are considered along with 12.5 million for a Whitianga Esplanade redevelopment, 4.8 million for Thames Pollen Street redevelopment infrastructure upgrade, 6.8 million for spatial planning, and 4.4 million for social services, one is left to query why the necessary funding can't be found to reticulate Wharekaho with wastewater and water services earlier than the proposed time frame.
Murray, that's your time. Thank you very much. I will open it to councillors for questions. Councillors, any questions? Councillor Revel, please.
Yes, thanks, Murray. Peter Revel here. Murray, the Ratepayers Association, which you're representing, how many ratepayers are in the Ratepayers Association?
Well, in the original Wharekaho settlement, there were about 150 houses. In the new Wharekaho subdivision, well, I'm not sure how many exactly are there, but there aren't many from that area that belong to our association.
Right. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Revel. Any other questions from councillors? I have a couple of quick ones. The comment that you made, and I just need to get you to clarify this. In your submission under option 2 or decision 2, investing in future planning, you have said no to investing in future planning, and the comment is that future planning is a luxury. I'm just a bit confused because in your presentation you seem to be saying just the opposite, that we need to be planning for infrastructure and looking ahead and making sure these things are on the plan and getting funded and getting done. So can I just get you to clarify?
Well, I think I was probably referring to the spatial planning proposal that wants to go around the peninsula and develop various plans, as has already been done in Thames. And there's quite a bit of money allocated to that, which is not really infrastructure in my book.
Okay, thank you. And my other question is, are you aware that council has just spent and I don't know the exact number, but a 7-figure sum on a wastewater upgrade from Wharekaho, which links that wastewater and significant improvements to that wastewater through down Stormont Lane and up into the main system. Are you aware that that work's just been done?
Well, I was aware that there was a lot of complaints about the odour that was emanating from a manhole somewhere in that vicinity, and the work was being done to try and rectify that. But as far as the expenditure on Stormont Lane and whatnot, I'm not aware of.
So that, just to clarify, that was a Wharekaho connection through Stormont Lane. So
No, okay.
So look, thank you, Murray. No, if there's no further questions, we'll leave that there and appreciate your submission.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Rick Balfour. Is Rick here? There he is.
This is my prop. Just to clarify, for some reason that organisation representation slot on the submission form was missing. So I'm just going to make sure you know which hat I'm wearing today. All right. Thanks for the opportunity. Ko Rick Balfour tōku ingoa. I'm here representing the Coromandel Trails Collective, which represents a range of clubs around the Coromandel. I've been a resident of Thames for about 10 years. And I'm very active in the local mountain biking club and the work that's been going on for a Kauaronga Trails proposal. So I really want to focus on decision 2, 3 and the feedback side of things today. And having been a Parks and Reserves employee in the council before and being very aware of the missing element that the Thames District Plan or planning side of things has, and that is a up-to-date walking and cycling master plan or strategy. Most councils around the country have got a plan of some comprehensive intention for catering for community cycles, recreational cycles, linkages between communities and backcountry trails, and that's something that this council is missing. And I really think in terms of the overall direction of community connections, as well as the important tourist dollars and visitor dollars that come with those sorts of cycleway facilities, we are missing out. There's a lot of regions around New Zealand who are so far ahead of us and gaining external funding that this is a huge gap. And so that's an overall sort of, I wouldn't say criticism, but it's definitely a big gap in what the District Council has to work with and also to gain external funding from the various places. As a local club, as an example of many of the clubs around the Coromandel, we've put in well over $100,000 in external funding into the local trail infrastructure. We have MOUs with TCDC for the Karaka Trail, which is an old road reserve up to the top of the hill. And we also look after a couple of local mountain biking facilities that are really oriented towards families and visitors. So it's a representation of the kind of talent and capacity and keenness that our Trails Collective has pulled together as more of a cohesive body. So we're speaking as one, we're thinking about the whole peninsula, not just our own patch. And so we really want to encourage the council to sort of match that broader strategic thinking and partner directly with these sorts of clubs and organisations and our Trail Collective to realise the potential for the Coromandel. It's really something that's sitting there untapped. But as an example, the Coromandel mountain bike park that council was a partner in, with a lot of external funding and a huge amount of volunteer time has gone into, you've seen the number of mountain bikes and cyclists heading up the coast on the weekends and the holidays. And that's just an example of a facility that gets a bit of attention and support, can then drive those visitors up there. There's a couple of businesses that have opened up in relation to that opportunity and the visitor numbers that have supported it. So it's a formula that has played out across the whole country that we are not tapping in well enough. And so I really wanted to stress that in the infrastructure side of things and the community planning, that you work more strongly with not just the big stakeholders who own the land, Department of Conservation, iwi groups, private landowners, and council themselves, that we work together to make this happen. We're missing out. There's a lot of external funding out there that we could be tapping, but you can't tap it if you don't have a decent plan, and you all know that. But we don't have one yet. The other thing I wanted to really emphasize was the collaborative approach that we need to take with community groups. In essence, we've got a lot of key talent in the district. I know one person from Whangamata side who's actually left because of the lack of progress. They've just given up. It's just been too difficult to get movement on a project that they're working on over there. And we don't want to lose any more talent from this district. We've got it. We need to tap it. So our ask is that you really recognise the importance of the trail network ecosystem that we have out there. It's not just community trails, safe routes to school, it's the backcountry side as well. And that we really request that TCDC consult with the Trails community. We've got a great organisation in the Trails Collective that can speak on behalf of and work with the Trails community. You don't have to go door to door individually. We've got a single entity to work with, and there's a lot of talent there. So that's really my main point, and thank you for the opportunity to be here this morning.
Perfect timing. Thank you, Rick. Thank you. Councillor, questions. We'll go Delly, Robin, please, and Peter. Thank you.
Thanks for your presentation. What kind of relationship or what support do you have from Destination Hauraki Coromandel?
We've worked really closely with the folks there, Headley and Co. They've supported some of our initiatives as a local mountain bike club, and especially around getting kids involved in cycling. Our club's built a series of structures that we take to schools to get kids involved in learning those skills of off-road riding, and that's been hugely successful. So we do have a very strong relationship, and we've also worked with them at a strategic level. We've got a Trails Summit coming up on June 14th, which coincides with the Big Bike Film Night, which I'm organising again to come to town. So it's a great opportunity to get the community together at events like that to figure out where the direction needs to go and, excuse me, what the local clubs are really keen to help with. It's not a ask of the council to do things for the clubs and the coalition. It is an ask to work with us. We've got the power as non-profits to extract external funds that council may not be able to extract from the general funding community. And so what we need is a good strategy for the whole district that we can say, this is how we fit with the strategy. This is where this project sits. And we're in coordination with the council, and Destination Coromandel is a key part of that.
Thank you, Delly. Robin, please.
Kia ora, Rick. Hey, just speaking of the Big Bike Film Festival, I attended last year, and that you premiered a little short video that had been taken at the Coromandel Bike Park, and I wondered if you were able to circulate that to the councillors, because it was quite a good showcase of the offerings that we have on the peninsula. But my question, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it seems to me from reading your submission and from what you've just said now that this isn't a nice to have sort of fluffy on the side if we've got time issue. This is a strong economic development opportunity that we are currently missing.
It absolutely is. And I'm a recreation planner by trade, been involved in trail building and planning in New Zealand and Oregon, and it really stands out that our council is missing the boat on a strategic plan that gets these assets identified for each community and gets the locals involved and gets a strategic direction and pathway for us to get the funding and work together to make it happen. That's the main thing that we're missing out on, and most other councils and regions and trail collectives have got so much of a lead time that it sort of stands out that our district hasn't got to that point yet.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Peter, please.
Morning, Rick. And I've only had one coffee this morning, so I'm not quite joining all the dots. I thought you were saying that Thames didn't have a strategic plan. You're saying the district hasn't got a strategic cycling plan.
A walking and cycling strategy is something that most district councils have, and that's what we're missing. Our walking cycling strategy goes back to about 2008, and it's really about footpaths and roads. And
so what is the work that DHC did a year, 18 months ago in preparing I thought there was they prepared a strategic a recreational biking strategy rather than a walking cycling strategy across the district. Okay, cool, thanks. Second question, Rick, is what's the connection with, yesterday we had a presentation from Greg Les from the Tauranga Trails Trust. What's the connection that they have with the Coromandel's Trail Collection? Is there any connection at all?
Oh yeah, what we strive to do in the collective is represent all the initiatives around the Coromandel. And so anyone that puts their hands up and says, we need some help, or we'd like some direction, or can you help us understand the situation? And he's come to me directly to ask, from my point of view, how to deal with that particular issue. So we are available to help individuals who are tackling some particular trail-related proposal or issue in this case.
Okay, thank you. And final question, just back off on what Robin was saying before. In your experience as a planner, how much work is involved in developing a walking and cycling strategy for the district?
Yeah, for one thing, there's a lot of great examples out there. So it wouldn't take long to find out from other planners within the council ecosystem what their budget was. You know, Waipaha District Council's got one of the better ones that I've seen over the years. It's probably due for renewal. So it's probably under 100,000 to get a really comprehensive piece of work done that maps out all the walking and cycling opportunities within the district, connecting communities within communities. We need safe routes to school. Our Trails Collective aren't just hard out mountain bikers. There's a few of us in there and we're strong advocates, but we walk our dogs, we walk our children in the trail system. We volunteer for a lot of different projects. Our mountain bike club's just established a trap line up the Karaka, for example, to look after the bush more than just the trail itself. So that's who we represent and that's how we work together.
Thanks.
Thanks, Rick. And I'm just going to add to what Councillor Revels just asked. Obsidian, you're connected with them and talking to them as well as part of that collective?
Not me personally,
okay.
But that is part of the range of groups that we help represent. Okay. And they'll be part of the Trails Summit that we'll have in June 14th. And everybody who's got anything to do with trails and walkways and things around the district will be invited to I started this off about 5 years ago within council, and then we've done one since, and this is time to really focus on this need for a whole of district strategy.
Thank you. And if we could get visibility over that event and shared so that, you know, especially the film night, I'd certainly be keen to keep in the loop about
Excellent.
that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Rick.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Sue. Welcome, Sue. Welcome, David.
We're just going to see past your hand to get up.
Jenna, I might need some help. Good morning, Your Worship. Do you want to scoot over this way and bring that microphone over here? You put the right hand button. Yeah, good to go. Thanks, Dana. If it works, then let's start again. Good morning, Your Worship, councillors, senior staff, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sue Lewis O'Halloran with the Thames Business Association. It is my pleasure to introduce you to David Irons, our chair, who actually owns a businesses on both sides of the peninsula. I'm not going to talk too much about about the TBA, because it's really David.
So Jenna's going to do that from,
She's
oh, you've got it working?
Yeah.
All right, I'll shut up and get back in my box.
I
Thank you.
thought I had it working. Okay, just quickly, this is currently what we're working on now. That's what the TBA does. We advocate, collaborate, communicate, operate, produce, oversee, and co-host. So over to you, David.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Prior to our submission, we surveyed our members to see what issues they wanted to raise. 4 key points came up: the cost of living, the lack of housing, red tape and council bureaucracy, crime, particularly theft and vandalism. Key ones then that represent the TBA's interest would be the lack of housing, which is a major barrier to Thames in particular. A trip around the peninsula or reading of plan consents shows there are considerable activity around the district. You only need to pull into Tairua, Pawanui, Whirianga, any of the other towns, including Pairoi outside the district, and see the number of housing starts, planned communities that are happening, and yet there is nothing occurring in Thames. We believe this is an area that the long-term plan can address if it is the will of council. A number of local projects have been talked about and planned for in the past. Totara is one that is often mentioned, Totara Valley, yet only a culvert has been built. The term business development is often used, but what zoning changes have taken place to allow for progress? This is a hot button topic for our membership, as attracting staff to an area with such a constrained, aged and inadequate housing stock is a major problem. This has been raised before by the TBA, and until progress is made, it will continue to be a limiting factor for the future sustainability and growth of Thames and Kopu. The wonderful opportunity that the Kopu Marine Precinct offers could be undermined if it is not fully supported by a strong local workforce. Red tape and bureaucracy. It is a given that councils must follow guidelines and regulations that have been laid down, but the perception is that the TCDC is extremely difficult to work with. That is the perception. The perception is reality until proven otherwise. So the ask here is that council adopts a more forward-looking, collaborative approach to planning and links the business development functions into some measurable metric of change and success. With regard to decision 3, we support option 2. However, please try and level the playing field and ensure that elected officials respect the knowledge of the council staff who bring to the table, knowledge they bring to the table, and not only the loudest voices are heard. It is important that staff and elected officials work collaboratively if we are to achieve desired outcomes and a reasonable return on investment. With regards to decision 4, we support option 1. Ratepayers are contributing more to rates and fees, and we expect the council will cut its cloth to extract long-term value from those rates dollars and provide a level of service that benefits all users. The goal of the long-term plan should be to improve satisfaction rates of customer service, not just interactions. This very closely aligns with the housing issue. With regard to the council building, decision 5, we support option 1. This will be a significant budget item, a highly visible example of how the council treats itself and how it manages the ratepayers' dollars. Our basic plea is for simple, safe and serviceable value for money spent. A couple of extra items rushing now. The aquatic centre. Best case scenario is that Thames will not have a pool for a long period of time. Worst case scenario, Thames won't have a swimming pool. This is a really disappointing. It would be a shame to have an underwhelming project. We suspect that Kopu would recommend that Kopu is the best location. The centre of town will move towards Kopu. New Thames will be further away from where we are now. Capital expenditure is another hot topic button. The consensus is who don't get their fair share of money spent given the ratings base. The concern is that there is no planned investment in Thames until 26-27 in the long-term plans as it stands. In conclusion, so we ask for targeted rates to support all business associations across the district. This is in our submission and very, very important to us. In conclusion, we ask that on behalf of the Thames Business Association, the council uses the long-term plan as an opportunity to create a vision and a legacy that encompasses all of the district. We ask that councillors execute your governance responsibilities for the benefit of all ratepayers in the district.
Thank you, David. Stay there and we'll open it up for question. I'm sorry if it feels like it's rushed. That's kind of the nature of these things. Councillors, any questions of either David or Sue? John Grant, please.
Thanks very much. Thank you for the presentation. It was very comprehensive. The question that I've got is around the targeted rate that you're talking about for business activities. Do you know of any other councils that are doing that to support business associations?
Yes, most of
Sue, sorry, you'll need to just push your button again, please.
John, most of the business associations with whom we work outside the district, and I work with many of them and align with them often, are receiving funding through targeted rates, through commercial building owners, or through the business improvement district process, what's known as the bid process, which is much more onerous to put into place. So we're just going to keep reminding people how important it is if you want. And we are actually pleading on behalf of all the business associations. We were supposed to talk about it in advance, but we haven't had time. And every business association in the ward is at a very different level of development, as you know. So for some of them, it's not an important conversation yet. But we're not financially sustainable at this point, and we have to work really hard just to survive. So there's your answer.
Thank you, Sue. Robin and then Peter, please.
I think I jumped in front of you, Peter. Thank you. There was obviously a lot on the slides and additional information. I was asking if you could please send those to us. You already have?
Through the chair, we will send them through.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I'm pleased to hear that you are working with the other business associations.
Absolutely.
Because I think collaboration is important while still being able to keep the identity of the Thames businesses, which are very different. So thank you.
Peter, please. Yeah, thanks. And thanks, David, for your presentation. As a business owner, with the idea of the targeted rate, are you envisaging that would be a targeted rate on businesses or a targeted rate on everybody in the community, or what would, from your business point of view?
My perspective would be that the commercial property owners would be charged a rate, which would then be passed on to the businesses that operate those businesses. So in my instance, I think I have 7 leases, so I pay 7 times. I'm happy with that. I think it's important. I think it's very important that the business associations are sustainable.
Okay. And supplementary question to that, have you surveyed your members as to whether they would be up for that?
We did survey them, and I think the percentage it's in my initial letter of submission was that 82 or 90% supported it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Rebecca, please.
Just following on from Peter's questioning, I was trying to have a look through your letter. How many members do you have?
About 300.
About 300. And do you have a good mix of the business types, sort of manufacturing, hospitality, things like that, or? We
don't have as many as I'd like in Kopu, and the commercial industrial, and they're a very important part of this ward. It's partly a function of time and resources. I'd really love to spend more time building the membership. So that is one of our goals, but we have good support out there. We just don't have as much as we'd like. And I think we will get more through the building of the Port Park Playground, because a lot of the people who are supplying to it are not members, and I think they'll become members now.
If I could just add to that answer. So of the 300 members that we have, they obviously contribute and we benefit them, but we benefit all members of the business community in the ward and beyond. So I think it's probably fair to say that some don't contribute and receive the benefits. That's a judgment call, but I think it would be fair that everyone pays a little bit to help everybody else.
Okay, thank you. I have a supplementary question, and that sort of doesn't relate specifically to anything that was in your submission, but as a broader. So we've had a day of submissions yesterday. We've already had somebody this morning advocating that we should be stripping back to basics and taking out anything that is sort of nice to have. But I see some of the things that you've been involved with, like particularly the Pirate Park Playground, which I'm super excited about, is an extremely nice to have, but it has economic development benefits going forward as well. And so I wondered, perhaps unfairly, if you had any thoughts as people who advocate for the community and for the business community in particular about our aspirational vision of the Coromandel, the place to live, work and play. If you had any feelings about whether that was appropriate for us to be aspirational in that case, or do you agree that we really need to step back to basics?
If I'd had another minute, it's all right, we didn't. That vision is absolutely vital. That's the thing. The plan is all about the budget and how we're going to spend the money, and we all know we haven't got the money. But what council can do is it can enable, it can allow for some things. So Pirate Park's not funded by council, council's assisted. But how does council help with the opening up of more land to allow for the development of Thames and for businesses? The long-term plan mentions that Thames is going to have negative population growth. It's negligible, but it's negative. New Thames, the town outside Kopu, which we all want to see, could have 3,000 to 5,000 people in it. Let's do that. The council can do that. It isn't about spending huge amounts of money on nice to haves. It's just a practical application of some policy. It doesn't take huge amounts of money. We could go up to Valley, and I know this gentleman before talked about all the inadequacy of septic systems and collecting your own rainwater. But if that's the option, let's do that. Let's save $20 million and not put sewage in, allow landowners to build on their properties and deal with their own sewage system, do a collective community system. Let's just try and think outside the box. Let's open up the land. Let's try and get something actually going. Let's do some doing.
Thank you, David. Very well put. Any further questions? All right, David, Sue, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we are, as expected, a tiny bit behind time, but we're doing okay. Anna, welcome. Bob, welcome. Okay. So we've got you with two slots, so you'll have 5 minutes and 5 minutes. We can do it one of two ways. You can do 5 minutes and then stop for councillor questions, or you can just carry on for both and then have questions at the end.
Okay.
I might suggest that we do it 5 and 5, and then so that councillors have a chance to just make sure that they're.
Anna's going to go first. She's going to go through the submissions in the detail. I'm going to focus on projects that are within the long-term plan, discussions whether they should be done or shouldn't be done, or what could be improved.
Okay, so I'm just going to remind you, and we've been making sure that this is in terms of process, and we understand, Bob, that you have fairly strong thoughts on things, and there's degrees of frustration, and they come through in your submission. I won't tolerate any criticism of staff. So if you're frustrated and you've got thoughts that you want to share, keep them general, aim them at us as a council, but let's just keep it courteous and don't aim bullets at staff, if you don't mind, please. All right, Anna, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us and allowing us for having an extra 5 minutes. As you know, we have over 700 members, households, and we receive questions all the time, like about levels of service, about just general information. RFSs people have sent in and are waiting for a reply or something to be solved. So we get all kinds of questions and try to answer them. In order for us to answer them, we also need answers, because otherwise we have to guess what's going on and we can't read your minds. So we're really happy when we first received the request to give you input for the draft LTP. And we thought, awesome, send in a lot of information, as did other ratepayer groups. And unfortunately, a lot of it was not included, so it felt a bit as if it was being ignored. And that was a shame. And the same goes with the input from community boards. We feel that they are losing their say. And it should be our local representatives to have a larger say to see what's included in the long-term plan, because they know what's going on in their own community. And that's aside from what benefits everyone in the Coromandel. We see that a lot of properties are for sale, more than normal in Tairangpanui. And it's because of lack of medical care. People get all they need to move, but also affordability. People have to decide to leave because they won't be able to afford it anymore with big rates increases, and especially when they're expected to be the same for the next 3 or 4 years. They have to decide to sell up and leave, which is a shame because we'd like to see more people stay or join us. And the residents we do have take really great pride in their properties and their houses. And it's painful to see for them that looks like council is not doing their part in the maintenance of the reserves, of the footpaths, of signage, all kinds of stuff that's broken, heaps of requests for service being sent in, but not a lot of action seems to be taken. And that's frustrating. At that point, we get questions from our members saying, what is council actually supposed to be doing? Is the grass supposed to grow over the footpaths? Is it supposed to be trimmed? We don't know. So we have asked multiple times, what are the service levels, which apparently are clearly defined, as I put in the submission. But I haven't received an answer on that yet. It's referred to percentage of parks and open spaces are maintained to contract requirements. But when we asked what those are, we didn't receive any answers and are now waiting for a response to a Lagoima, which we were suggested to send in. So that makes it hard for us and frustrating that we won't be able to answer people their questions because we don't receive the answers to our questions. And we don't think it's an unreasonable request to see what is actually in the contract. What are they supposed to do? Do they have to mow the grass around the bollards? Because some of them look really bad. Broken signs, nothing happened. That's a mega level of frustration for all of us and for all our members. So we're hoping to get an answer on those questions so we can share that with the households, and we can then also share that with the other ratepayer groups that are in the Alliance. So everyone's aware of what's supposed to be done. The other question we've posed multiple times is the communities would like to see the local operational budget so they know that what percentage of what they pay in rates is actually being spent in their own community. So that in the long-term plan, in the budgets, it's more focused towards the specific community board areas. So people will know where their money is going. So that's a big concern as well. And we really would like to get that information to make it clear and transparent to the ratepayers to see where their money is going. And what else? For me, a personal concern as well is that we put in the draft information the renewal of the dredging consent, which we know expires in 2033. And that's a long way away, but it has to be in the budget. And the reply we got to our question is, no, it's not included in the CAPEX budgets as a renewal item. But if there's no consent, there will be no dredging done. But if you know that's going to happen, at least include it, because look, we all know it can be quite dangerous if it's impassable, the bar, it's not being dredged. So we would really like to see that included, please.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. And you've got a lot of the detail that you've discussed is included in your submission. I'll open it to councillors for questions for Anna on her presentation. Are there any? Okay, we'll move straight to Bob.
Okay, I'm just going to focus on 4 major projects. The first one is Holland Close flooding. The This project's been on the books for 15 years, and I was involved with it when I was the chair of the community board. Stage 1 has been done, but stage 2 has been deferred for 4 years. Now, the problem with that is that stage 1 is upstream, and it was designed to keep the flow within the stream, so it didn't flood outside the area and flood the houses in Holland Close. Hopefully that works, but what that does, it keeps the flow within the stream, which is going to impact further down. And stage 2 was to put a drain in Mount Ave that floods through on the other side of the Ocean Beach Road causeway into the stream. So what we've done is moved the problem further downstream, and we're going to wait 4 years to decide did it do anything. And I can tell you now what it's done. We've moved the problem downstream, and we need to look at it. It's an extremely expensive solution that they've come up with. But talking to the locals, I said, why can't we use the road, the existing road, which it is now, as the flow pan, and we're at the bottom of the street, then put another drain from the bottom of the street into the stream on the other side of Ocean Beach Road. At the moment, the current plan is to dig up the whole of Mount Ave and put another drain down there. It doesn't happen every year, but why can't we just use the road as the flow plan, do a drain down the bottom into the stream? Because what happens is the water builds up at the bottom of Mount Ave and it flows through the people's properties to get back into the stream. So, yeah. So that's just one issue. Wastewater, we've had a major problem with the smell from the Tairopāonui wastewater treatment plant. We understand that you guys have signed off to do some work on it. It's been happening for about 4 years, and there's a lot of frustration within the community. People within 2 kilometres of the plant, when the wind's coming from the southwest, can't open their windows in their houses. It's that bad. It's actually putrid. And our concern is we actually went to WRC and said, look, TC is not complying with their consent. And WRC told us, yes, they are. They're sending us a report every 3 months to say there's not a problem. We're telling you, well, there is a problem. They're not complying with their consent. The odour is disgusting, and it has been for 4 years. So I'm not sure whether WRC followed it up. But there's just an issue of integrity in the whole process, and it's not acceptable. The other one is roading. Part of the submission and the request, we asked what roading was going to be done. Pauanui's internal network hasn't had anything done to it in 10 years. In some areas, the chip has disappeared and it's basically tar. If we had got 30 degrees temperatures in summer, it would have been melting tar on it. So we asked, because the issue is that locally we have to pay the difference between red chip seal and grey chip, which is based on a square metre coverage. And we didn't get an answer. All we got back was we have a total district fund. We can't tell you whether any eroding is going to be done in Pauanui. So, I mean, I don't know where you established the credit. So then one of the staff said to one of our members, oh, there's no red chip seal anymore. McCullum's have closed the thing. I rang McCullum's. McCullum's tell me 20 years supply. I've got 40 tonnes sitting in the yard now. So you really got to question where this is going. So in the end, we did get some figures to say there will be some work done in 25, 26, and then on a 3-year pattern. But we want to ensure that that actually gets done, because at the moment there seems to be an issue or policy that we're not going to do anything on the red chip seal. And there's this frequent reasoning giving, oh, it's run out of supply. It hasn't run out of supply. There's another 20 years supply. And there's options to doing it. McCullum's can barge it straight into Kopu and truck it over the hill, which would actually reduce the cost even more. And the last one, if I can quickly do it, is public toilets. In the plan, there's just huge amounts of money to rebuild toilets in Pauanui and Tairua. And one example is the surf club toilet, $477,000. It's just been painted and everything as part of the surf club upgrade. It looks really good. All these toilets are blocks, solid block. Basically, all they did is a refurbishment, a coat of paint, internal body design. I mean, the staff feedback is we've got to use stainless steel body units and things because they don't get damaged. We do get vandals smash up the bowl and things like that. So we just need to come back to the basics on these things and really look at them. I would suggest that $100,000 to refurbish these toilets would be ample in any man's vision.
Thanks, Bob. We'll open it up for questions. I have a question from Councillor Gottlieb online. Gary, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Hi, Bob. How are you, mate? The pragmatic approach of using the road to bring it over the blockage, has that specifically been raised with the council?
Yes. I discussed it with one of the council members.
Right. And I can just confirm, having a red chip driveway in Auckland, I've been to that McCullum place and there are huge amounts of red chip, and I took some away with me. So there certainly is red chip.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, they told me they had a problem during Gabriel. They lost the power to the island, so they had to install a generator for power. I mean, most of the stuff is diesel operated, but they had no power during Gabriel.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Councillor Gottlieb. Do we have any other questions? I have one, and that is just to confirm, and I'm sure you are aware, Bob, Council has allocated the budget and the work for getting that odour problem fixed at a significant cost to it. You're right, it wasn't cheap. You're aware of that,
Yep.
We've signed off on that.
Yep.
I can't tell you from the top of my head the timing of that. Somebody will know, but that's definitely on the, and hopefully it'll fix the problem because it involves not just Pauanui. I think there's parts of Tairua involved as well in that.
Yeah, we've had it confirmed it'll be done before Christmas.
So that's good news.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yep.
All right.
Yes.
Any other questions?
A lot of phone calls to us, I'm sure you.
Yes. Anna, let's call this the answer to a question. So, but where you go?
Because I've had this in my head for the last weeks, months. I'd like to say something from Cora, politician. Will you make the right decision? You can talk the talk, but will you walk the walk? And will you bring us comfort? Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. All right. Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Anna.
Tracy, but we've noticed that Dave is online. It could be over 3.
Okay.
But yeah, they're online.
They're online. Okay. So, Tracy, are you online? Can you hear us?
Yes, it's David Lamerson, planning consultant for Whitianga Waterways, and I've got Peter Abinson here, director and project manager for Whitianga Waterways.
Peter, welcome. Tracy and David, welcome. Is it the 3 of you?
Yes.
All right, what we might ask you to do, please, it helps us at this end. Can you turn cameras on?
Yes.
We're on at this end.
We're on.
We're not seeing you. Let's see if we can just get that sorted before we start. We can't do anything at this end. Okay.
Yeah, we're not that
We're not that good. All right. So look, we can hear you. We can't see you. let's, we'll carry on as we are. So
Yeah.
have we got, it's one section, isn't it? So 5 minutes. All right, 5 minutes, away you go.
Thank you. As part of the Whitianga Waterways Structure Plan, approximately 65% of the Whitianga Waterways development has been completed and 787 house allotments established. It is expected that a further 450 house lots and retirement units are still to be established, including other commercial development over the next 10 years. To date, council contributions, development contributions from Whitianga Waterways has been about $16 million. Over the next 10 to 15 years, a further contribution of around $11 million. That's about 450 houses at $25,000 a house, a unit. A key question for Whitianga Waterways is the Whitianga's wastewater facility. Will it have enough spare capacity now and in the future to accommodate the future growth? What improvements to Whitianga's wastewater facility is required to accommodate future growth? And has any improvements and funding been earmarked in the next 10 years? Likewise, water supply improvements are to be undertaken or needed to accommodate future growth. And we've had a look at we submitted on the long-term plan 3 years ago, and I sent through an email to the government's team this morning, just showing what the capital expenditure was going to be for Whitianga, and there was budgeted $5 million improvements for the wastewater plant at Whitianga. That was to occur 24, 25 through to 26, 27. Under the current wastewater capital expenditure for Whitianga, those improvements no longer apply. And we're just wondering how wastewater improvements are required for Whitianga, but are no longer in the long-term plan.
I think one of the key things from a developer's perspective is that need for certainty. I mean, we all realise we're in a bit of an uncertain market at the moment, but for us to continue to master plan the area that we currently have at the back of Whitianga, we need certainty going forward and looking at different stages. One of the key things is when you go through a resource consent application, is there the ability when you get through that process to actually hook up to council services, and not having certainty or having the ability that somewhere down the track you're told that, sorry, you won't be able to hook up because there's no longer capacity, obviously adds to the conundrum that developers currently facing and face into the future. So what we're actually searching for is, as Dave has outlined, is planning by council for future need and going forward, being well and truly canvassed and funded going forward.
Thanks, Peter. So you've still got time left. You've got a minute and a half. Are you through what you want to say, or is there more to come before I open for questions?
Well, I think it's important. I think when we went back to the budget for 3 years ago, there was meant to be a wastewater treatment plant, third reactor, and under the current long-term plan, there's no wastewater upgrade at all. So I think Whitianga Waterways are concerned that as they finish off the development, is there going to be spare capacity for the wastewater treatment plant?
Yeah, we were certainly under the impression that an SBR plant was to be effectively bolted onto the current existing plant, but now we can't see if that has actually been funded for or provision for. So there's again, straight away you've got uncertainty going forward, and that's what we'd like to seek clarification on, is where is that funding? Has it been done? And is that funding in place? Because, you know, we still remain, if not the fastest growing area in the Coromandel, one of the fastest growing areas. And yeah, certainly there's that search for certainty around that.
Okay, thank you. Look, those are really, really good points to raise, and that's what this process is all about. We've certainly got a note of that, and councillors, as we go through deliberations, will be asking for clarity on those questions. I'm not sure that any one of us around the table has definitive answers on those, but we've certainly got a note. I'm going to open this up for questions from councillors. Have we got anything? I've got a couple of things just to throw into the mix, but nothing from councillors at this stage. All right, thank you. My question for, I'm not sure whether it should be for Peter or Tracy or David, is around the item 10 on your submission, which is your concern about capital expenditure in Mercury Bay dominated by the development of the Whitianga RTS 9.4 million and the Whitianga Waterfront Redevelopment Project. If I just ask around the refuse transfer station, and I'm going to direct my question to you as developers, because if you understand, and I'm sure you're aware that the Whitianga RTS will have a resource recovery centre as part of it. If we've got 400, 500 new houses to be developed, do you have any kind of thoughts about the construction waste or the management of construction waste and how that resource recovery centre and the transfer station will help to alleviate and minimise the construction waste that currently is all going to landfill? Have you got any thoughts about that?
I mean, I guess I can, I guess I've seen other examples around the country, and I think there's the ability to go through a waste minimisation process. And those, I mean, I guess I'm talking specifically about the Wanaka one. There's what I would class as an outstanding facility down there. I think, look, there's no doubt as we go forward, as people become more cognizant of waste minimisation, that there's certainly an ability to go down a pathway that is well managed. I think people are becoming more cognizant of the ability to do the right thing for the environment. So look, I think it's, in saying that too, the current facility is, I would say, is no longer up to standard. So there's certainly a requirement to keep pace with that. There's still issues around fill and waste minimisation of different materials, but I think, yeah, there's certainly a need for a well-managed, future-looking transfer station that I think looks at the ability to from a reuse perspective.
Thank you. So that's encouraging. And so in your item 10, I was slightly concerned about what your position might be on that. I'm encouraged by that reply because I think Waterways has a significant role to play in supporting the development of that and seeing it move forward. So thank you very much for that. No other questions from councillors? Thank you. Thanks, team. We've taken a note of your items in your submission and appreciate it very much.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Cheers. Chloe Wilson's. Chloe, are you online with us?
I am.
Are you able to turn your camera on so councillors can see you? That's better. Thank you.
Cool.
All right, Chloe, 5 minutes. It's over to you.
Perfect, thank you. Kia ora mea salt and councillors. My name is Chloe Wilson. I am the current chair of the Mercury Bay Community Swimming Pool Trust. As a trust, we maintain and operate the Mercury Bay Community Swimming Pool, which is located on Mercury Bay Area School grounds in Whitianga. Our main priority is to make sure that the pool grounds and changing facilities are available for the community from October through to April. The pool is available and used by the wider Mercury Bay community. We have patrons that travel from Matarangi, Kuatunu, Cooks Beach, Hahei, Hotwater Beach, Whanuakite, as well as tourists that are here on holiday. It's used for, but not limited to, obviously learn to swim programs, competitive swimming, water safety, school students, the elderly, rehab, kayaking, diving, and just good old water fun. It obviously also supports local organisations, so Dive Zone, Whitianga Fire Brigade, and our Hotwater Beach Surf Lifesavers, who all help in emergencies both on land and in the water. Mercury Bay, Coromandel and communities throughout New Zealand are facing a battle to have sufficient aquatic facilities, as you are well aware, that all allow all ages, races and abilities the opportunity in a safe and fit for purpose facility to learn a basic skill that all Kiwis should have, the ability to swim. As you all know, pools are not an easy or profitable asset to run and maintain. We are very proud of the facility we have and are doing our darndest with the funding that we very thankfully receive from TCDC to keep this facility open, functional and available for our wider Mercury Bay community. Pools, especially commercial pools that have lifeguards, are one of the safest places to learn the basics. As a country, our drowning rates are horrific. From Surf Life Saving 2023 National Beach and Coastal Safety Report, 10-year overview, so from 2013 to 2023, states that New Zealand's 10-year average fatal drowning rate is 57% greater than the Australian 10-year average. And last year, so 2022 to 2023, the rate of drowning around New Zealand's coastline was more than twice that of Australia. Our drowning toll is something every New Zealander should see as a national tragedy and one we all have a responsibility to address. The current numbers from Water Safety New Zealand are 26. So 26 fatal drownings to date this year in 2024. We are only just into the 5th month of 12. This time last year there were 42, which also included the 6 drowning deaths due to Cyclone Gabrielle. We're doing better than last year. In 2023, the total number of drowning deaths was 90. 29, so 29 summer drownings, which occur from 1st of December 2023 to 29th of February 2024. This equates to approximately 1 drowning for every 3.1 days. In the Coromandel, we're surrounded by water that you are all well aware of along our entire coastline with some of the most beautiful and pristine beaches in the country. Our beaches are used in brochures, billboards, TV ads, magazines and movies and in music videos, which all help to lure people here nationally and internationally to visit our beautiful backyard. We then also have our rivers, streams, waterholes, waterfalls and estuaries that are also used, especially during summer. With this, we need the ability to be able to educate and train our people locally to be able to protect and assist not only our communities, but visitors within the different water locations in this area via the local emergency providers I mentioned previously. The Trust members are passionate about providing a quality facility that our community can access on a regular basis, that allows them an opportunity to exercise, learn the basic skill of water safety, and that contributes to their overall well-being. I know I don't have to say it, but we have all had our fair share here on the Coromandel of what can only be described as annus horribilis, or in English, terrible year. However, there have been a few concurrently, 4 to be exact. With the years of COVID followed by the year that was 2023, we had many plans that were put on the back burner to deal with the challenges and hurdles these brought, not only as an organisation, but as individuals with families and businesses to run. But we're now in a position to get going. So we're planning to install heat pumps and new thermal pool covers with rollers, which will lead to a longer season and more consistent temperatures. This will then provide better conditions for babies, small children all the way through to the elderly and those who require rehab. We maintain the grounds and changing facilities to meet the current guidelines as set out in the funding agreement between TCDC and the Trust. The money that we receive from this funding agreement is crucial to our operating and maintaining the pool and surrounds. The funds are used towards employing the pool manager, our group of lifeguards, water maintenance manager, as well as towards the high cost of chemicals and equipment to maintain the New Zealand standard pool water quality.
Chloe,
But-
that's your time, unfortunately.
All good.
I know it goes very fast, but
No worries.
stick to that. I'm going to open this for questions. I've got one from Delhi and from Councillor John Grant, please.
Hi,
Kia ora.
Chloe. That 5 minutes whizzes by, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
In your submission on behalf of your group, you mentioned something about a separate small learn to swim pool. Where were you thinking that might be located, and how were you thinking about funding the construction of that?
I'm not sure if any of you are aware of the Mercury Bay Area School grounds where the pool is located, but where the pool is, there is what we call a half barn, which was previously used by the caretaker. This is to be removed because it's no longer fit for purpose, and so that would be the area that we would look to locate that that pool, and that we would be looking at funding via grants, obviously outside of this TCDC.
Thanks, Chloe.
No worries, thank you.
Hi, Chloe, John Grant.
Hi, John.
I thank you for your submission. I would like to just get an understanding roughly of what your annual budget for maintenance is and how much of that is currently funded by council and how you make up the difference.
So we, the majority of our budget is eaten up by chemicals that obviously treats the pool, and also for our water quality manager. So we pay him to basically keep the pump shed operating and humming, basically. We're in the process of replacing him just because his own business, which is to do with pools, has become very, very busy. So we receive 46,000 from TCDC every year. And that is chewed up basically through chemicals, but also through wages. So through having lifeguards that are on throughout our season. So generally that starts for early morning swims and then weekends, and then through the school holidays, it operates 7 days a week through the different ones. So the other shortfall that we have is basically through donations and grants for anything else that we need to have completed. I don't have the figures to be. So we're looking at employee-related costs is about 26,000. So that's included, obviously, with wages and salaries being about 24,000 of that. The rest is chewed up through, ACC and other things. Chemicals are approximately 8,000.
Just a supplementary to that, do I understand that there is a fairly urgent need at the moment in regard to the repainting of the pool?
It depends on what you classify as urgent. It would be ideal if we can paint it, yes. And so we are looking at aiming to get that completed in this down season at present. Obviously, we are having to weigh up other costs that are required. But I wouldn't say it has to happen right now. If it could, it would be ideal.
Thank you. I have a question from Reka.
Morning, Chloe. Thanks for your presentation. Just, do you have an idea of the numbers, like the numbers of children at the school that will be using the pool and the Learn to Swim, numbers of kids that are coming through there?
So the school, obviously the roll fluctuates anywhere from 900 to over 1,000. They have an extreme amount of, like, obviously a high number of students they're trying to pump through for term 4 and term 1. So they have been able to manage that quite well. The Learn to Swim numbers, I can't give you off the top of my head, sorry, but that is operated through the Mercury Bay Swim Club. throughout the Christmas and January holidays.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
The requirement there, so just to be fair, with Learn to Swim, we need to have that pool at a certain temperature, which is why we are needing to heat it. That's our urgency that we have at the moment.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question from Peter, please, and then one from Councillor Gottlieb.
Cool.
Thanks, Chloe. So the swimming pool trust operates the swimming pool. Who actually owns the pool? And therefore, who is carrying the depreciation?
We carry the depreciation. So it is on Ministry of Education grounds, much like Whangamata and Coromandel. It is on their land. However, many schools around the country cannot afford to operate and maintain pools. And so many now are looked after by other entities like trusts, etc. So we have a MOU with the school that's just been renewed. So we are to have it operational for them for term 4 and term 1 at present. And yeah, we basically cover the depreciation on any
So
of the.
you receive funding from the Ministry of Education.
We receive funds from Mercury Bay Area School for them using the pool during term 4 and term 1. We also pay for our power that we use that pumps that powers the pump shed as well. That's on our grounds.
Thank you.
Chloe, I understand you've got a meeting at 10:30. I have 2 more questions. We'll try and squeeze them in, but you.
That's right. I've pushed it out. So yeah, all good. Go for it.
So Councillor Gottlieb and then Councillor Sinclair, please.
Sure.
I'll try and be brief. You cut out when you were explaining about where the new learner pool was going to be. Looking at the photograph, there seems to be a little pool there already. Is that the one you're referring to? I'm looking at.
We've only got one pool. It might be little, if depending on how zoomed in you are. Our pool is 25 metres by 6 lanes. If you are looking at it with the field to your left, you will have obviously a whole raft of classrooms and the pool. The learner pool will just be to the bottom right of it. That is where we would look to situate it.
Okay, well, the photograph I'm looking at seems to show some small pool, but we'll ignore that.
Yeah.
Have you had discussions with the Whangamata pool people? Because they've been through this.
They have, yes. So we have been in discussions with them. They've come and visited prior to them putting in heat pumps. They came and visited. I've been there myself and spoken with and I feel terrible, but I've forgotten. No, the lady who operates the pool for the truck.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry, I've forgotten her name. And she's taken me through her through the pump shed and looking through the whole property. They have some advantages that we don't have, and that's obviously something that we have to work through ourselves, which makes us.
Well, have you considered some sort of local contribution on rates for what you're looking at?
No, not at present. No, we haven't. It will be something that if we get to that point, we will possibly look at, but not at this stage. No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gottlieb. I will come to Councillor Sinclair, please.
Sure.
On off. No, it is on now. Sorry, I just thought I could find the information that I was after on the website, but the Amateur Swimming Club website hasn't been updated for a couple of years, so it's not there.
Well, generally, so most of it's held within Facebook because it's free. It's one less cost you've got to worry about with a website.
Oh, fair enough. I'm not prepared to log into Facebook during.
Oh, good.
No, I'm really just asking. I really want to know how much your Learn to Swim sessions are, and presumably it'd be for the first term of school, and just what sort of costs that would incur on a family.
So that was something that you would have to ask the swim club. I'm not 100% sure. Sorry, I can't give you that answer.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Rika.
Rika, last one.
Sorry, yeah, I know you've got to go. So just just for clarity, am I correct in understanding that the Mercury Bay Swimming Pool Trust really just manages the pool and the facilities?
Yes.
And then the school runs the school lessons during school
Yes.
time? And then there is what, the Mercury Bay Swimming Club that runs the outside of school lessons for the learn to swims and things like that?
Yes, at this stage, and we did offer a learn to swim program ourselves. However, Jenny Collier retired, and we have struggled to replace her, as you well know. So yeah, it is a very big challenge. And a challenge that is faced by many with volunteers. And it's not just within the swimming code, it's across all codes, is trying to find the right number of volunteers, the people who have the right ability. Obviously, if you're going to be swimming, you need to have training. So the swim club have approached us to look at different options. However, we are just not in the position to be able to take that on. If you look at Whangamata, just as it was brought up before, they operate differently now. So they actually they offer swimming lessons, and when the school uses it, they book lanes out, and the other lanes are still available for public. But as stated before, they are in a different position. They are on the road front, and they have separate access into the pool itself, which is basic. We don't have that. You access the pool down a driveway, which brings you onto school grounds. So there's obviously that layer for school that we're working through to see if we can counter that.
Thank you, Chloe. We'll stop there if that's all right. So
Sure.
we try and stay with our schedule.
No worries. Thank you very much for letting me talk, and good luck.
Thank you.
Cheers.
So where we're sitting on the schedule at the moment, and for those of you who have come in since we started, I'll just let you know that the schedule that we have allows for speaking time, but we still have to allow for questions from councillors, which basically puts us behind schedule. This is where we're at the moment. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the next time slot.
We actually have 5.
5.
Kate has moved down.
Kate's moved down. All right. So Rob's here. Is Linda here, Rob? Okay. So what we might try and do.
Tony's here also.
Tony's here. What we might try and do, can we reach out to Helen? And I saw her online earlier on. I need to make sure that councillors get a break. So what I'd like to try and do is talk to Susan and Anthony, Rob, Linda, and then take a break and come back to Helen and Anna after morning tea, if that's all right. So Helen, can you hear me? There's Linda. No, it's all right. Grab a seat there just for the moment, Linda, please. I know, I'm saying hello. Helen, can you hear me? Helen McCabe, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
We can. Helen, what I'd like to do is ask your indulgence. We're going to hear from 3 more presenters before you, but I need to give councillors a break. So if it's all right with you, if you're okay to hang online, we'll do those 3 submissions. Then we'll take a morning tea break and come back to you after that. Would that be all right with you?
Yep, that's fine by me.
Thank you.
Also, talk to you all when your blood sugar's raised.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning tea break's normally 15.
We allowed that buffer knowing that.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Larry. That's good. That's good to know. Thank you. Anna, can you hear me? Anna Horn?
Yes, I can hear you. Look, I'm going to withdraw. I'll just say briefly, I was just trying to type it in the chat. my main issue, and I'm just going to be cheeky here, is your decision to the assumption that unlimited growth is good. I really want to see a pause on the continued development that's going on, in particular in Mercury Bay, and have a five-year pause so that we can catch up, as you've heard, on a lot of other issues. But I will withdraw.
You don't want to do your submission online later on?
No, I'm sorry. I have other pressing things to do, Len, but I appreciate that.
All right. Thank you, Anna. Okay, so we're going to go to Susan and Anthony Jacobs. Are you here?
Tony is.
Tony? Sorry, there he is. I'm not used to seeing the Anthony. Tony, please take a seat. Is Susan with you or not? Okay.
Hi, it's me again, Tony.
Push your button on the thing, please. Red light will come on. There you go. All right, Tony, you got 5 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, got it. Okay. Look, I'm speaking on behalf of my wife and I, who are lucky enough to live halfway up Paku Hill in Tairua, overlooking the harbour. We've lived there for 23 years. We realise how lucky we are. And we see throughout the year how many people enjoy that harbour. And we just want to make sure future generations are going to enjoy it in the same way. And that's why we feel so strongly about the issues I talked to yesterday about with the Guardians, about the pollution, high pollution from two places in Tairua Harbour. I won't go all through that again, and I apologise for the poor writing on my submission, by the way. But you've got all those facts there. But I do ask you, please, to seriously think about, it's not a lot of money, how can we get the right people together to solve the problem of the pollution in Tairua Harbour affecting swimmers before somebody gets seriously ill? So thank you. We also ask our council, if they can, to work again with NZTA to provide a safe footpath between the footbridge which goes over Graham's Creek Bridge on Highway 25. This was built about two or three years ago after a lot of pushing from groups in Tairua to build the footbridge, but unfortunately NZTA never provided a footpath from there into town, which is about a stretch of 300 metres. So people are forced to walk along the edge of the highway, close to traffic that used to be at 70 k an hour, now 50 temporarily. And it's very dangerous. I feel dangerous. We did a petition that got over 600 people signing that we sent to NZTA, asking for a safe footpath to be provided. All these people really expressed how unsafe they feel. So we do please ask you guys to do whatever you can to contribute or help to get this footpath provided. So thank you for that, okay? We also ask if you can make sure that sufficient funds are provided to utilise the dredge sand that get dredged from the access channel in Tairua to Tairua Marina. This sand is good, clean sand, and we'd like to make sure that funding continues to enable the sand to be used for soft shoreline protection in appropriate places around our harbour. When Cyclone Gabriel struck, we looked down and we could see how effective that sand, it's only a temporary sand placement, but it did the job and it saved a lot more properties being flooded along Malaya Road. So we do like to think that Jamie Boyle, who's the coastal scientist with you guys, gets all the support he can to continue with utilising sand that's made available. We also support the long-term plan, of course, to increase and make a higher bunding along all the shorelines in Tairua Harbour. Okay. Yeah, I guess that's about it, really. But I just want to say that on the question of water quality, I'm happy to, and guardians are happy to come to the officers here, talk to whoever the people are, so that we could, whatever help we could give with all the info we've got on water pollution, to try and help speed up the process to solve the problem. But thank you all for listening to me again, and I appreciate how hard it is to be able to absorb so much information from so many people who are short term. So well done.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you. Robin, please.
Hi, Tony. I hope you don't consider this an unfair question, but would you, hear your concerns about Graham's Creek? And last time I drove through Tairua, I stopped and walked it myself so that I could really experience the true Tairua experience of that. So, in your opinion, would there be a local appetite to fund footpaths outside of the Waka Kotahi system? If we could get it done quicker and easier by doing it ourselves, would you be willing to pay for it?
One of the many groups I belong to is Walk Tairua, of course, which created the great Pepe Loop Walk. And we have raised funds in the past, and there would be, I know, sufficient interest to raise funds, but how much is the problem when people, as everybody knows, are struggling now. But I'm sure we could contribute towards it. And with that experience, I'm convinced we could build, or at least help build, a much cheaper, effective walk. It could a mixture of boardwalk, a small bridge over a culvert, and a lot of stone. We know far cheaper than the one proposed by your roading department.
The problem there is, of course, we've looked at that, but Waka Kotahi have to approve it, and that's the problem we're facing. It's a terrible problem, needs fixing, and we've tried to do all those things, but we get stymied by Waka Kotahi saying, no, you can't.
Yeah, I really understand that's the problem. But it's just anything that anybody could do to put pressure on them to speed it up, even if they cover the costs of whatever consents or whatever it is that are required to do the work. Okay.
Tony, are you aware that thanks to the work that Councillor Morrissey and myself have done with Regional Land Transport Committee and the petition from the community, the good news is that your voices have been heard, and there is a $10 million budget for double laning of Graham's Creek and connecting the walkway with the town. There is some land acquisition needed with the farmer.
Yeah.
It's a low area and it floods, as you know. But are you aware of that as being basically part of that program?
I'm aware that that's, been talked about, of course, but it's how long will it take and how much longer do people keep getting exposed to serious injury? And even simple things like making sure NZTA keep the speed limit down to at least 50 for longer. All those things have got to help. But anyway, it's tragic that they built the footbridge, which has actually encouraged more people to risk life and limb to do the loop walk around Ocean Beach Road.
It's famous.
I know. I'm sorry. You know all
footbridge
this,
to nowhere. All right. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate your time, folks.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're going to go to Rob Boston from Whangamata Ratepayers. Rob, you weren't here earlier on, so we'll just remind you of how it works. You'll get 5 minutes. At the end of 4 minutes, you'll get the seatbelt sign. 1 minute to go. And I'm going to remind those who are doing presentations the process and the protocols. You might have frustrations about the way things are going. Those frustrations should not turn into criticism of staff. That is not okay. And it's just something I'm reminding all presenters of. So thank you, Rob, and thank you for taking the time to come in.
Mine's a personal submission.
Okay.
Linda's presenting the submission on the ratepayers' behalf.
Okay, thank you, Rob.
Thank you for the opportunity. I went through the document and I wasn't quite sure how I was going to address this particular meeting, but there's just some bullet points really. It's all about the money, I agree with that. The supporting of option 3, but I'd like to see large infrastructure items identified and tagged out. I'm very nervous about budgets that are based on assumptions, and I know you have to think to the future, but I found the information within this document really quite confusing. I found the numbers and the seemed to be all over the place as you went to different pages. One of the things that concerned me was the what I appeared to see a bias in project spending across the community boards. The allocation of fund, asking questions regarding the criteria used and the equity and the need, and the breakdown that I came up with for community facilities was the Coromandel was about 8 million, Mercury Bay about 25, Tairua Pawanui 6, Thames 46, and Whangamata 6 million. So based on what the rate take was in 22-23 for the Whangamata, Tairua, Pawanui combined was about $40 million a year. You multiply that by 10, 400 million, and only about 12.5 million comes back into community facilities in those two areas over the 10 years. So it was just a point that I was just looking to make, really. The Thames Centennial Pool and the submissions for that, when I went through this document here, I couldn't find any reference to the pool, and I just wonder whether, if it's coming up in the submission process for the 3 options, whether it's district funded or whether it's going to be funded locally. The 3 options is 36 up to 77 million. Seems very expensive. Whilst accepting the need for an aquatic facility in Thames, I don't support any of those options. I found it interesting to see there's an OPEX comment in there about the ongoing costs of running those facilities. It's difficult, and I find it sometimes, I find this odd that when we ask for OPEX reports in the community board meetings, I've never seen an OPEX report for parks or reserves or for infrastructure maintenance and so on. But that's just an aside. I'd like to see council, and it was interesting to listen to the Mercury Bay poll, and we have been talking to them. I'd like to see council develop a strategy for all the pools in the Coromandel area. With some creative thinking, instead of spending millions of dollars, you could fund all of the community pools, including the Thames High School option, which I think is a good one. And just for example, a $1 million grant for the Whangamata community pool would see us running, we'd get the refurbishment of that pool completed, which is underway at the moment. That's costing us $300,000. We've installed the heat pumps. We've transformed that pool. It's now fizzing. It's just the numbers have exploded in every area. We have a plan to build a learn to swim pool and a therapeutic pool, which we've got building consent for. We've got a fixed price contract. That's about $450,000. If we had that money, $1 million, we could put solar heating onto the building, and we could heat our heat pumps. We could get them running much more efficiently. And in the addition of that, when I look at the $900,000 OPEX for one of the options that you have, we run our pool for less than $200,000 a year. If we had a grant, and we're grateful for the grant that we do get from TCDC, it would help us enormously if we had a fixed grant that would take all the worry out of staffing, management, maintenance, and all of those issues that we deal with. I reckon you could do the whole 4 pools in the Coromandel for about $5 million if get the right contractors. I'm not sure how much time I have, but I just want to briefly talk about the long-term plan and the process.
45 seconds. 45 seconds.
Okay, I'll leave it at that. That's fine.
thank you. So I'll open this for questions. Councillors, any questions of Rob? I have one very brief one. You, in your decision 2, option 2, keep the status quo, don't invest more. This is about future planning. You're not keen to support future planning, but I'm just wondering if you're aware that a big part of the push that councillors have had around the table for spatial planning across the district outside of Thames has come from Whangamata community itself.
I was going to speak on that, but I've run out of time. The spatial plan for Whangamata is absolutely crucial. You know, we are exploding as a little town. We've got expanding, but there's no land. We're just filling in sections. And we need that spatial plan. We need to understand where the town's heading in the next 10 years and before. Just for facilities, just for medical, for how we deal with recreational, social facilities and so on.
Thanks, Rob. That clarifies, because I was a bit confused with you.
No,
so you do support spatial planning for Whangamata and other parts of the district?
Yeah.
Well done. Thank you. Any other questions? Right. Thank you, Rob.
Thank
you. Linda.
You can tell they support spatial planning because it's in the submission before you. My name's Linda Dacey. I've been asked to speak on behalf of Whangamata ratepayers today. You have our submission in front of you, and I'm not going to read it out, but I am going to refer to parts of it that reflect our views. And I will start with rates. Our objections are stated in our submission. Your average is quoted. I know you love the wheel, Len, but unfortunately it's meaningless to us. What we are able to calculate is most of the rates collected in our area are spent elsewhere. We feel there is no equity or fairness, and WRA would like to see your policies amended to the full extent the Rating Act allows, particularly regarding the general and UAC components, but local and targeted also. We read that Thames is the economic nerve centre of our district and that it's our main service centre. Regrettably, in Whangamata, we don't quite see it that way. We see that Thames serves Thames, the Thames coast, and various communities on the Hauraki Plains. The latter don't pay TCDC rates. Faux pas. We do agree that you have the opportunity to help achieve wider community and urban benefits by looking at other options. What Whangamata Ratepayers Association would like you to do is look at those options with fresh eyes and take into account the way things are changing. We also note that we presented a survey, which you have. There was quite a strong view about value for rates, where our rates are going, and we would still like that information made available to us. However, we will see what we get. We note that in this LTP and supporting documents under the stormwater activity, the service we can expect from TCDC is our stormwater services protect habitable areas from flooding, and that you will measure this firstly by the number of flooding events where your target is less than or equal to 1, and secondly, for each flooding event where the number of habitable floors affected by per 1,000 connected properties is less than or equal to 1. WRA will watch this space with interest. Firstly, we think that the term connected properties is rather disingenuous when applied to us. And secondly, because in our opinion, that should be rateable units. We did take note of the CapEx budget allowed for the Whangamata stormwater improvements. And I will now move on to that. It's important that people feel secure, protected from risks to their health and well-being, and including from weather events. Those are your words. Stormwater improvements are critical for us because stormwater is our major issue. Services to provide habitable areas from flooding. Well, NIWA advised El Nino restarts in July. That's 2 months away. 12 months ago at the AP consultation hearings. Every Whangamata person who spoke about our stormwater problems was told the same thing. A stormwater group has been set up to address this problem. That group's purpose was to produce a master plan so scopes of work could be costed and prioritised to go into the LTP. We're now at LTP stage. I've told you what the LTP said we could get, and we noted the CapEx budget. We followed process and we requested line item details for this project, the Whangamata Stormwater Improvement Project. In simple terms, we asked for the activities and the planned dollar amounts allocated to these activities, which make up each of the allocated money year by year. And this is the answer we received. Note, we asked for detail. This is the answer. Whangamata has experienced significant stormwater flooding from weather events over the last 20 plus years, with recent major weather events occurring in January and February 2023. The Whangamata Stormwater Project was initiated in 2022 to address these issues. The multi-year project proposes to develop a flood model for system performance to improve the capacity of the existing infrastructure by upgrading the pipe network in key areas and modifying stormwater discharge points over the period of the long-term plan. The money ends, well, from 2030, there's zero, so it goes for 6 years. That's not detailed, and it certainly doesn't tell us what's going to happen.
That's your time, Linda. I'll open it up for questions from councillors. Councillors, anything for Linda?
Thanks, Linda. I love that you guys are talking about equity and fairness, because I think that's something we need to put a lens on across the entire peninsula. And so I'm really mindful that we had a presentation a few minutes ago about the pools. Rob, I valued your contribution about the pools, Rob, and also yesterday from your library about the provision of library services. So I think we're hearing that loud and clear. And I just wondered whether if you could comment about the appetite for that spending, because one of the things that you've raised is that, you know, the equity and fairness isn't there when it comes to the spending. But to my mind, if we're then providing the same services for everybody, is that equitable and fair? Is that how we should be? I think particularly about playground services, and that some of our wards don't have a lot of playgrounds.
Some of your wards do not, and as you know, one of our playgrounds was deferred yet again for reasons best known to people other than the people of Whangamata. I even read a plea from, I think it was Colville, that if you're pulling out playground equipment to replace it elsewhere, could you please send it up there, because they've got nothing.
Correct.
So it is true. Our pool has been developed quite differently from, say, the Thames pool. So if you're trending in that direction,
no, I was thinking
we
about
don't want to
water
go
services.
there. But we do think that there are better ways across the board of spending council money. And I think that people, if they knew where their money was really going, because at the moment they don't, they would feel a lot more comfortable about facing increases and situations in their communities. People tend to focus on what's important to them. So if you're a mother with a young child, a playground might be important. If you're somebody sitting in a flooded home, then flooding's important. It's very variable, but they all pay rates.
Yeah. So one tool that we've got is a rating review. So that would be something you'd be supportive of?
Yes, I would, but I'd like it to be open, because we get a lot of things. I was going to say, we've learned in Whangamata to dread the word signalling, because when we hear that, we just think TCDC's already decided to do something. We won't have had a say, but we will be required to pay. And it may be an unfair view, but as you saw from our 561 survey submitters, they took a solely Whangamata view. And we were really disappointed when we were thanked initially, when it was received by council, thank you for your efforts. And then by February, we were told that it had been put aside because council had better ways of finding out what Whangamata wanted. And we thought, how could that be? Have we missed a survey? You know, I mean, it was quite bizarre. So if you are doing a rating review, maybe you can open it up. I mean, I know that you guys are councillors and you're like the board, but there are other people in all the communities in the whole district who do have opinions, and they're varied, but they still need to be taken into account. We can't have a referendum on everything, I know, but you know, maybe instead of, you know, advertising dogs at the Thames SPCA, you could put in a sort of 10 questions we're asking this week and see what you get back, because you might be surprised.
Thank you, Linda. Appreciate it. Okay, we're going to take a break now for councillors to stretch their legs and use the bathroom. It'll be 15 minutes, so we'll be back and reconvene at 11:15. So for...
Still need Helen to be first up because she's had to wait.
Thank you. So Helen McCabe online, you'll be first up at 11:15 when we reconvene. So thank you, everybody.